Welcome, everybody. I'm Enrico again, and I'm here today with Kai Langford-do and his short film, Ridicule. This is video number 4. I hope you're enjoying our YouTube channel, and let's find out a little bit more about Kai. Welcome, Kai. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your journey as a filmmaker?
So I'm originally from the US. I'm from San Francisco. And since I was like 11 years old, I went to this kind of film thing after school I would go to called SF Art and Film for Teenagers. And it was run by this guy called Ronald Chase, who innovated a lot of kind of film projections and opera and dance and things like that. And then when I moved to the UK, I went to the Bournemouth Film School, did some films there. And then I went to the National Film School where I did script supervision and things like that. So I kind of began to I guess, as a professional, market myself as like a script supervisor, working on short films and things like that. And then eventually I ended up on Coronation Street during COVID and things like that. I was covering, and that was kind of my first into TV and things like that. And then from there, I did a couple blocks on Casualty. And then I got on Screen Skills through the high-end TV trainee finder. And then I ended up as a trainee on The City is Ours. And then this year on season 2, I've been an assistant. But I've always wanted to make my own stuff. I always felt like I had a lot of kind of ideas and stories to tell and things like that. So I was like, I can't forget about that. So with my own kind of money that I would raise as a freelancer, I'm like, let's put that into little short films and things like that. Even when the budget's tight, even when things are difficult, let's never lose sight of that. So yeah, Ridicule was one such project that kind of came from that. But yeah.
Tell us about Ridicule and why did you want to tell this story, and why do you think this story, how did the story speak to you, and why do you feel this story is relevant now?
I've always like had these very vivid dreams since I was a kid about things. So if I was dealing with something psychologically and I couldn't quite find an answer for it in an intellectual way, it would come as these kind of dreams of like this very vivid imagery and emotions and things like that.
Briefly about Ridicule, if you had to pitch it to the filmmaker in 1 minute, how would you pitch it?
I would say Ridicule is an experimental dance film about an individual, how it's a kind of showing the ritual and the process of how an individual is broken down and becomes a kind of conforming member of the crowd, basically.
Take us through the production process from the beginning, so from writing to location, equipment, casting, shoot, until post-production. Take us through it.
So as I mentioned, yeah, I had these ideas and stuff, so I would be writing them down into a treatment and stuff like that. And I kind of found an order for it and a progression to it and things like that. And I played with like a lot of different kind of potential avenues it could go down, a lot of different kind of alternative routes and images and ideas. But eventually I settled on the form that you kind of see in the film now. And I had a lot of friends at uni and stuff, and I wanted to make the film at uni originally. And there were a lot of people that were very keen on it, and I had storyboards made and things like that. And that was like, I had the idea there, I had the vision there. So I was like, I have this money now, I don't have a lot, but I really want to do it to make a film. What can I do that's simple? And I'm like, oh, this idea is quite simple in many ways because it's just all in one space, and it could probably be done in 1 day. So I had a friend, and I was like, do you want to produce this? And he didn't have any experience with films, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we got together and we did that, and I was like, I'm gonna need good performers. So I've worked a lot with this company called First Take in Liverpool, and they've worked a lot with this company called Tenesis Physical Theater. And I've worked with them before on different shows, different live shows and things like that. And so I was like, those are the sort of people that I would like to do this, to kind of express this vision and find a kind of a choreography and a dance language to express these intentions. And then when we only had 1 day to shoot it, so when we arrived on set, we had to kind of get them all to kind of operate as a pack, as a group of pack animals. So it's about spending time between us to do that. And we shot it in a photography studio, which is a bit like maybe not the best sort of place. So when we arrived there, the set was still being built. And then I get a call early in the morning, and like the makeup artist is like, oh, I can't make it for the shoot. I've had like a medical emergency with the family and things like that. So I'm like, shit, what do we do? What do we do? But luckily, one of the actors, who's actually the main protagonist in it, she has a bit of makeup experience. And so she was like, okay, just tell me what you want and I could help you,
Wow.
do this makeup art. And I had, of course, I had these concepts and these ideas of this kind of, a lot of like these Tibetan raffle entities from like Tanka paintings and things like that. So I was like, this is what I want. This is the intention. She's like, okay. And so between kind of me kind of giving different pointers and all the girls doing the painting and stuff, I think it ended up quite well, all things considered. So there were a lot of challenges, and there was a lot of like moments of me going through my shot list on set and being like, "We don't have a lot of time." Me like going, "What do I need to tell the story? Let me remove that shot, remove that. Let's just do this. Let's do that." Kind of adapting as I go, and I think a lot of my kind of experience as a script supervisor played well in that because I knew the kind of core components in which to tell a story. So it was a lot of adapting on the fly.
Tell us about the post-production, and gradually we are going into festivals. So after you
Yeah.
shot it, what happened?
Yeah, so after I shot it, the intention was always to kind of edit it myself, to kind of keep it, low key and low budget and things like that. So I tooled away at it for a while, and obviously I had a structure and a story in mind and things like that. But when I arrived in the edit, of course, there were some things that didn't quite like work out as intended, and tried to work out like a lot of workarounds and things like that. Kind of, it's become a big thing for me actually, with because I've worked on doing a lot of kind of films that very, very low budget. It's become a thing about like, well, I shouldn't pretend that this isn't low budget. I should just roll with it and kind of try and make it a part of the look and a part of the style. So I was like, so I introduced this kind of haziness to it and this kind of white blur to the background to just kind of add that kind of dreamlike quality to it and make it a strength rather than and a stylistic thing rather than a weakness. So that was kind of my solution to that particular problem. And then another thing that was very difficult was the music side of it, right? Because I
Oh,
feel like that is such a big part of the film, is the sound and the
huge.
music.
So
Yeah.
when you were doing the performance, you were doing it completely without music, correct? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
They took
wow.
their own,
So,
they
and
took
then the
their own
music
cue.
came after. So you
Yeah.
can I ask you why didn't you have music when you were shooting?
I didn't want it to feel too staged. I didn't want it to feel like they were just dancing to a score and it was like a musical number and stuff and that they were following this choreography. I wanted it to feel a lot more organic. I wanted it to feel a lot more kind of motivated from themselves and spontaneous rather than it being this sort of like they're dancing to a score. It was more about the performance and more about them surrounding this girl and intimidating her and things like that. It was more about that rather than the music.
So you completed the film and tell us about the festival journey.
Found certain homes in like very niche, sort of small, kind of intimate festivals. One of them was the Kino Short Film Festival in Manchester. Another one was Hackney Super Shorts in London, and that was great because it was amongst company of a lot of very different sort of films. More kind of traditional kind of narrative ones, comedies, all sorts of different things. And it stood out because it was so different and things like that because it was experimental. But it felt also right at home because it was such an eclectic program.
What advice would you give to young filmmakers, especially under 25? Okay, since now you're 26. Okay,
I'm an old man.
yeah, you joined the society. Okay, so for anybody starting out, especially at the young age, what advice would you give them on their filmmaking journey?
I think you've got to be fearless and you've got to express what you really want to say. Never lose sight of what got you where you are to begin with, which was that passion to create and things like that. And always take feedback, always take, people that have experience and have them take that input. And the more you kind of understand what you're trying to say, the more people will rally around you and support that.
You've been a fantastic and very eloquent filmmakers to interview. It has been a pleasure to hear a little bit more about you and your work. I look forward to see your next film, and I hope we can watch you on Shorts to Features as well. So thank you so much, Kai.
Thank
And
you.
you can watch Kai's films and this interview on our YouTube channel. Take care, and thank you very much.
Yeah,
See you
thank you very much. See you.